All right, welcome into PrizePicks on 5 here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick. It's a little bit small on the screen there. Or 5 Reasons Sports. We've got David Eversole. You can follow him at David W. Eversole, and our guy David Friedman, who you can follow at Taco Bout Sports. So we got another Thursday night football game today. This is another of those games you've got to make interesting by actually gambling on it in some way, whether it's on the game itself or on fantasy, because they are not giving us the best matchups this year. We've got the Jaguars. We've got the Bengals. I feel like Urban Meyer is maybe 2 bad losses away from heading back to college. The Bengals defense, though, looks a little bit better this year. It looks like there's some improvements. We're going to go through some of the picks that we would suggest. Again, if you're going to play PrizePicks, use the code 5, F-I-V-E, get your bonus matched. Or get your bonus match for your initial deposit. They've got all kinds of cool promotions. And, of course, the NBA season is starting as well. We'll be doing some NBA shows, and you can already bet some of the futures on the NBA season. If you think a certain player is going to go over or under points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, etc. But let's get to it. We'll start with Mr. Eversole. He's on the top here tonight. What do you see in this masterpiece matchup?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a spectacular duel tonight in prime time. But the quarterbacks will be under the spotlight, I think, with a lot of people playing PrizePicks tonight. I actually went with Burrow and the Bengals. I think they're going to control the game on offense using Joe Mixon, who's had a bounce-back early start to the season so far. I think they'll be able to probably control the game script and pull away in the second half. So I'm going to take Burrow under 249.5 passing yards.
And one of the things we've talked about here on the show is sometimes it's counterintuitive. You're playing the team you think is going to win. Sometimes you're playing against that passer. If you think team's going to lose, you think they're going to be coming from behind. Mr. Freeman, what do you see here?
Yeah, so and I'm kind of piggybacking off of what he's saying, but just to go back to the Burrow thing, my second prize pick, Burrow under 21 completions, right? So. Okay. Along the same lines, and my prize pick is actually the opposite. I went Lawrence, and at the time I picked it, it was over 21.5 completions. Mm-hmm. I think they bumped it up now. It's up to 22.5. I still like it. It's the same idea of what we're talking about, right? Game flow. I think they'll be behind. I was talking to Dave about this before the show started. I've actually been doing this. I've been following in some of the games the quarterbacks that I felt were on teams that would clearly be behind. And I've been, looking at their recent games. So, for example, on that one, I hit on Garoppolo against the Packers. They, at the end, he was all over the place, and they caught up. I hit on Brady against the Rams. The one that I missed on, it was Heineke against the Bills, which I was shocked. They got blown out, and you think in that game the losing quarterback would have a lot of completions. I think he had like 14 is what it was. So, I've been following in that sense where tonight I'm going, like I said, Lawrence. The 3 games that they played, the Jags gave up 37 to the Texans, 23 to the Broncos, 31 to the Cardinals. I think it'll be a higher scoring game in terms of the Bengals. They've been putting points up, I think. Regardless of how it happens, I think they'll score a lot of points in those games. Lawrence, 28 completions, 14 in the low-scoring game, and 22. So it's 21.5. I like him throwing from behind tonight.
Yeah, and similarly, that's one of the reasons. Well, actually, it's not similarly because I'm going counter to you a little bit. I think Urban Meyer has been sort of making noise about the fact that they need to control the ball a little bit more. I think there's going to be a concerted effort to do that early in the game just to take the pressure off of Lawrence. I don't think it's necessarily going to work. And then I do agree with you, David, that he's probably going to end up having to throw a ton in the second half. But the number for James Robinson is not that big for rushing. It's 52.5. I feel like that's attainable. They don't have a lot of other options at that position. I also looked at his receiving yards, which I think were 23.5. But I'm going to go with the rushing yards, 52.5. over tonight. Again, I think they are going to try to establish the run early. And I don't see a blowout tonight. I think they'll be coming from behind, but I don't really think Cincinnati's good enough to blow anybody out at this stage. In fact, if you look at the number in Vegas, I think it's high at 9. They may cover it, but it seemed like kind of a high number, as bad as Jacksonville is. So I'm going to go.
I'm with you. You're on the Bengals defense, I think is what you said to start, right? Yep. So for me, I'm playing the Bengals defense in my league.
Yep.
And to me, I think like there's an easy pick 6 there somewhere along. Like something.
Yes.
So that's where the less yardage comes, and that's where the gap comes and the coming from behind. So it all ties together at some point.
But I still think James Robinson can get to 30 to 35 rushing yards in the first half, which is probably enough to carry him to 52.5 for the entire game. Before we close here, I want to mention again, use the code 5 FIVE. Mr. Eversole, you got any other words of wisdom here before we go?
Well, actually, I want to throw in a pick for the Hurricanes tonight. We got Thursday Night Football against Virginia. Let's see that turnover chain. I'm going to take Brennan Armstrong over half an interception. I think Miami picks him off at least once. So I always like those low numbers on the interceptions, and a Thursday night matchup can get a little sloppy out there. So that's a little bonus pick for everybody who might want to mix it up with some college football tonight as well.
All right. Sounds good. That'll give you a reason to watch that Canes game. I think they're 5-point favorites tonight. I'm not sure how I feel about that one either. Follow him at Taco About Sports at David W. Eversole. We'll be back before Sunday to give you our picks prior to the Dolphin game, which actually I'm going to be attending, so I can actually do this in person, perhaps, if they'll allow me to.
Don't jinx us.
I will not
get to as a guest. Come on.
We'll get two as a guest. Maybe we'll get to Sean Watson. I don't even want to say it. All right, go to PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5 FIVE at PrizePicks.